Here are 25 strategy games on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 you actually want in your library right now. Starting at number 1, Fire Emblem Three Houses is simply one of the best tactical RPGs ever made, and it holds up beautifully in 2026. You play as a professor at a monastery academy, building bonds with students who eventually become your soldiers. The grid-based combat is deep and rewarding, but it's the relationships and story branching that make this one impossible to put down. Every playthrough feels different, and with 4 routes to explore, the replay value is enormous. Number 2 on the list, Triangle Strategy earned its place as one of the most thoughtful strategy games the Switch has to offer. Built on Square Enix's beautiful HD 2D engine, the game challenges you with a political narrative where your choices genuinely shift the story's direction. Combat takes place on elevated terrain that actually matters, and the conviction system adds a layer of moral decision-making that most tactics games never bother with. Fans of deep storytelling will absolutely love this one. Coming in at number 3, the XCOM 2 collection brings the iconic PC strategy experience to Nintendo's platform without losing what made it great. You command a resistance force fighting back against alien occupation, managing your base, researching tech, and deploying squads into tense turn-based missions. Permadeath keeps every decision meaningful, and the modular mission design means no 2 campaigns feel exactly alike. It's demanding, it's punishing, and it is genuinely one of the most satisfying strategy games available. Game number 4, Civilization VI, has been on the Switch for a while now, and it remains one of the most addictive turn-based strategy experiences you can take handheld. You guide a civilization from ancient times through the modern era, managing cities, diplomacy, warfare, and culture simultaneously. The included expansion content adds a staggering amount of depth, and the just one more turn loop hits especially hard when you can play it anywhere. Thousands of hours can disappear into this one easily. At number 6, Into the Breach is the kind of strategy game where you can learn it in minutes, but keep discovering new ideas 100 hours later. You control mechs defending cities from kaiju-like creatures, and the genius is that every enemy telegraphs its next move, turning combat into a pure puzzle. The small scale makes it perfect for portable play, and with multiple mech squads and daily challenges, the content loop stays compelling. It's one of the most elegantly designed games on the entire platform. Number 7 goes to Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, the long-awaited revival of Nintendo's classic military strategy series. Both original games were rebuilt from the ground up with new visuals and quality of life improvements, while keeping the tight, approachable gameplay that made the originals beloved. You command armies across colorful maps, managing units, terrain, and CO powers in battles that are easy to learn but hard to master. If you never played the originals, this is the perfect entry point. Game number 8, Unicorn Overlord, is a real-time strategy RPG from Vanillaware that looks like a painting in motion. You build squads of fantasy units and deploy them across large maps and battles that play out automatically based on your preset tactical formations. Managing those formations, unit synergies, and positioning is where the real strategy lives, and the scope of the campaign is massive. The art direction alone makes it worth playing, but the gameplay underneath keeps you hooked for dozens of hours. Coming to number 9, Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles arrived in late 2025 and quickly became one of the most celebrated strategy releases on either Switch platform. This remaster brings the legendary original game alongside War of the Lions, with enhanced visuals, full voice acting, and a modernized UI that makes the experience far more accessible than it ever was. The job system and deeply political story still hold up as genre benchmarks, and playing it in handheld mode feels like the format it was always meant for. Number 10 is Divinity Original Sin 2. One of the most acclaimed RPGs of the past decade, and now fully playable on Nintendo Switch 2. Larian Studios packed in the entire Definitive Edition experience, and the tactical turn-based combat rewards creative thinking in ways few games can match. You can combine environmental effects, spell types, and character abilities to engineer outcomes the game never explicitly teaches you. Multiplayer support makes it even better, and this is easily one of the deepest games in the Switch 2 library. At number 11, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is unlike anything else on this list and deserves far more attention than it typically gets. Developed by Vanillaware, the game splits its time between a visual novel narrative involving 13 interconnected characters across different eras and real-time strategy battles where you command mechs against waves of kaiju. The storytelling is genuinely extraordinary, layered with mystery and emotional payoff, and the strategy segments provide satisfying mechanical contrast. Once the story clicks into place, it's unforgettable. Number 12. Pikmin 4 brought Nintendo's beloved strategy series back in spectacular fashion and became one of the best-reviewed Switch games of its release year. You direct tiny creatures called Pikmin to collect resources, build paths, and battle enemies, all within tight in-game time limits that force efficient decision-making. The addition of Ochi, a rideable dog companion, adds new traversal and combat options that keep the formula feeling fresh. It's charming on the surface and strategically deep once you commit to optimizing your runs. Game number 13, Fire Emblem Engage, arrived in early 2023 and delivered a tactics experience that leaned harder into combat mechanics than its predecessor. The Emblem Ring system lets you summon legendary characters from across Fire Emblem history and channel their abilities in battle, adding a layer of tactical variety that keeps the combat fresh well into the late game. The story is lighter and more anime in tone compared to Three Houses, but the satisfying grid battles and character progression make it easy to sink 50 or more hours into. At number 14, Wargroove 2 improved on the original in nearly every way, refining the Advanced Wars-inspired formula and delivering a more ambitious campaign with multiple protagonists and intersecting storylines. The pixel art is gorgeous, the map design is creative, and the balance between offense and defense in unit matchups gives the combat a satisfying rhythm. A built-in map editor and online sharing features extend the lifespan significantly, and this is one of the best indie strategy games available on any platform right now. Number 15 is Tactics Ogre Reborn, Square Enix's remaster of the classic 1995 tactical RPG, which sits alongside Final Fantasy Tactics as one of the deepest war strategy narratives ever created. The World Tarot system allows you to rewind to earlier story decisions and explore different outcomes, which transforms what could have been a demanding single playthrough into something more forgiving and replayable. The class system and unit customization are deep without becoming overwhelming, and this is essential for any serious fan of the genre. Coming in at number 16, Sid Meier's Civilization VII launched on Switch 2 in mid-2025 and brought the franchise's most ambitious design overhaul in years. The new age system restructures progression by breaking history into distinct eras, each with its own victory conditions and dynamics that reset in interesting ways. The Switch 2 version runs smoothly and looks sharp whether docked or in handheld mode, and the touchscreen controls on the Switch 2 make navigating the menus remarkably comfortable. Civilization fans who skipped 6 now have an even stronger reason to dive in. At number 17, Slay the Spire remains one of the most influential roguelike deck builders ever made, and it plays brilliantly on Switch in both handheld and docked modes. You build a card deck run by run, discovering synergies and adapting your strategy to whatever enemies and relics the procedural generation throws at you. Every character plays completely differently, and the balance between each one is remarkably tight for a game that has been out since 2019. This is the kind of game that quietly consumes entire weeks. Number 18, Hades 2 became one of the most talked about games of 2025 after launching on Switch 2 in September of that year, building on everything the original did and expanding in almost every direction. You play as Melinoe, daughter of Hades, fighting through a new mythological underworld with a richer boon system, more weapons, and a darker narrative tone. The strategy layer in choosing boons, builds, and escape routes gets deeper the more you understand the systems. Super Giant Games delivered another masterpiece, and this version runs beautifully. At number 20, Shadow Tactics: Blades of the Shogun arrived on Switch 2 in March 2026 and gave tactical stealth strategy fans exactly what they had been waiting for on Nintendo's platform. You control a small group of specialists in feudal Japan, each with unique abilities, and must eliminate targets or complete objectives without alerting enemy patrols. The level design is intricate and rewards careful observation, and the satisfaction of executing a flawless synchronized takedown never gets old. It is one of the genre's finest examples and looks excellent on the Switch 2 display. Number 21, Factorio Space Age on Switch 2 brings one of the most legendary factory building strategy games ever made to a handheld platform, and it works far better than it has any right to. You crash land on an alien planet and must mine resources, automate production lines, and build a rocket to escape, all while defending against increasingly dangerous creature attacks. The Space Age expansion adds planetary exploration and new challenges that expand the endgame enormously. This is pure problem-solving and systems optimization in a way that is deeply satisfying. Coming to number 22, Two Point Museum landed on Switch 2 in late 2025 and delivered one of the most polished and entertaining management strategy experiences in the entire series. You design and manage museums across wildly different themed exhibits, from prehistoric fossils to supernatural artifacts, while keeping visitors happy and finances healthy. The humor is sharp, the depth is genuine, and the freedom in designing layouts gives each playthrough a personal feel. It is approachable enough for casual players, but has enough complexity to keep dedicated strategy fans engaged for hours.